This is Jeanna, now sober. Things to see if I am live on Facebook. I did not even check. We're going to do that. Did not even check audio. Sometimes my audio gets turned off, and that really agitates. So I'm checking Facebook to see if there's audio, because there's where it turned off. So anyways, I don't even know if I'm live. Difficulties here, so just bear with me. Ups is having connection issues, and they're restoring. So, anyways, if you're hearing me, I think I hope I'm live. If not, I am recording on a second device, so it'll come to you not live. We'll see what happens. It does look like I am, though. Anyways, this is Jeanna, and Now What with Jeanna, where I answer questions, offer tips, and say stupid shit that I'm sure I will later regret about addiction, sobriety, and recovery. If you have a question, please feel free to let me know, and I will do my best to answer them for you. That's what I'm here for. Anyways, now I have a question. I say and say stupid shit to make light of the fact that I could possibly say stupid shit. And I've been thinking about that lately, trying to increase self-esteem, because it is something, I'll always have on, we'll always have to work on. So I'm trying to increase that self-esteem. And I'm kind of wondering hi, Marcus, thank you for telling me I'm live. I'm still getting used to this. Anyways, I'm kind of wondering if that appears like a joke. What do you guys think about that? I like to give myself the positive affirmations, even when I'm not feeling them, because I need to increase self-esteem. We're back on this topic. So, but I'm also saying that I say stupid shit. I think everyone does. I think joking about it and taking light of it is a good thing. But I don't know. What do you think? I know I had a therapist once, and I kind of giggled and said, "Oh, I'm just weird that way." And she just really berated me, is that the right word, for calling myself weird. And I'm like, but you don't understand. I think that is it's what makes me unique. It's not something that I feel bad about. It's something that I absolutely love. So anyways, and this is the same kind of attitude, with saying that I say stupid shit. I'm just trying to be cute. But this is our topic. Is what healthy self-esteem looks like and how it can help us in recovery. There is I usually do the show sponsor, which is like not really a sponsor because I don't have any. But and by the way, today's show sponsor could not give me anything other than a new word. It is perspective. It's how you look at things. And this came out of, again, just like what I'm talking. What is your perspective on the word weird? What is your perspective on how you see your self-esteem? And this whole topic, as I was researching it, kind of gave me a new perspective on some things that I had looked at in the past. I'm going to quote you something real quick. It says, I had heard this, by the way, read this from Nathaniel Brendan. I don't know. I have the name written up here. We're going to quote him later, but I didn't quote this part. Nathaniel Brendan. Okay, so just a tiny bit of history. Yesterday, someone said that my problem is that I have a problem with self-worth, and I my answer to that is duh. A lot of us do. I don't totally have a problem with self-worth, but there are certain areas in my life that I could pay closer attention and improve on. And so I knew that. And then actually the area I was talking to him about, that was what what I was working on, was my low self-worth. It was a fellow coach. And so anyways, he said I had low self-worth. And um, and I saw this quote, uh, because I'm constantly working on this imposter syndrome. It says to attain success without attaining positive self-esteem is to be condemned to feeling like an imposter anxiously waiting exposure. I loved that. To attain success without attaining the positive self-esteem. Um, that's the whole concept of imposter syndrome. And there are some areas in my life where I absolutely feel like it. When I was teaching, I from time to time felt like it, although that was probably one of the areas where I was most confident in my life, so it didn't happen too much. But yeah, I here's an example. Um, when I lost all kinds of weight, I still saw myself as being very heavy. I very heavy. And I couldn't see myself as being attractive because I didn't gain the self-esteem that came with losing that weight. I don't know if that makes sense to you, but I mean, it's this quote. This quote kind of, where are you in that? Do you have the self-esteem? Do you, and you probably have it in some areas and you may not have it in others. So, anyways, we are going to move on and talk about this topic today. I'm looking in the wrong. Okay, so the topic again is uh, healthy self-esteem. That's what I got on my notes here. Is what does healthy self-esteem really look like? A lot of people think they have good self-esteem. A lot of people appear to have good self-esteem. We're going to talk about some differences in that. First, I wanted to talk about, though, the benefits that alcohol has to self-esteem. Does alcohol benefit your self-esteem? Does it give you more self-esteem? And I wanted to talk about that because I want to contrast it in terms of there are situations in which alcohol can benefit your self-esteem. It gives you courage to talk to that girl that you're afraid to talk to. It helps you care less about what people think. Care less? Care less. I could care less about what people think. When I was drinking, yeah, I could care less a lot about what people think. It helps you to relax, and here's one thing: it makes us think we look good. It makes us think we look good. So I said when I lost all my weight, I didn't think I looked good. But when I dressed up and went out and, you know, was drinking, I thought I looked great. I thought I could dance. I thought people were looking at me in a good, positive way. So it makes us think we look good, which in turn can build our self-esteem. If I think I look good when I go out, then a little bit of that's going to drag on to the morning. However, there are cons to alcohol and our self-esteem. There's damage, and I think the damage is way, way, way greater than the benefits. The damage is the hangovers to our self-esteem. When I was hungover, I wake up the next morning and, oh God, why did I do that? Why did I drink so much? Why did I wear the lampshade? Why did I kiss that guy? There's so much why did I's, and it makes you feel like shit. It also increases our depression levels, especially in the end for me. It highlighted um, the sadness that I felt, and I felt a lot. As I'm very open about I lost my son to suicide. I very much blame myself about this. So it highlighted that loss. I would go in when I drank and would go into that and beat myself up about not being the mom I thought I was. And then, of course, there's shame after all the years of drinking. So it does a lot of damage to your self esteem, which I think is one of those reasons why when you get into recovery, you really need to pay attention to your self esteem, really need to work on it and build it. And repair the damage that's been done from years of alcohol abuse and the stupid stuff that comes with it. For me, the stupid stuff included ruining a marriage. It included giving up my career, which I loved very much as a teacher. It included, and then by the way, I didn't lose the career, I gave it up literally, because I was afraid that I couldn't do it anymore. My self esteem had hit a bottom, and I was no longer the teacher I thought I was. So, wow, that's one of my most confident times in life. It also ended up just, being demolished by my self esteem. So, anyways, there's a lot of things that I kind of lost track of where I was. There's a lot of damage that it does. So where self-esteem is concerned, alcohol and drugs gives us a little, but then it takes away a lot. And we find that with a lot of things. At first, alcohol is great. We have a good time, we can party, but then after a while, for many of us, not for everyone, but for many of us, it just ends up doing a lot of damage. So, what is self esteem? I'm going to use some words interchangeably here: self esteem, self worth, self love. So, know that I'm kind of talking about the same thing. Self esteem is the judgment we pass on ourselves. And I told you that Nathaniel Brandon is his name, that he had another quote that I wanted to share with you, because this is kind of like a what it is and what it isn't quote. Before I do that, Nathaniel Brandon is a pioneer in the studies of self-esteem. He's written books. I just discovered him, researching this topic. And I will be purchasing the book because, at least one of the books, the Six Pillars of Self-Esteem. I think that's what it was, 6 or 7, Six Pillars of Self-Esteem. And I'll be purchasing that because just what I've studied and learned from him in the research I've done, I want to know more. It was so intriguing. And in fact, and there's some other stuff that he talks about too that I think is pretty intriguing. I still have his. This is the only other page I have open because I want my stream to come through as clear as possible, so I don't try to open anything. But anyways, here's the quote. He writes, self-esteem is an intimate experience. It resides in the core of one's being. It is an intimate experience that resides in the core of one's being. It is what I think and feel about myself, not what someone else thinks or feels about me. It is what I think and feel about myself, not what someone else thinks or feels about me. I can be loved by my family, my mate, and my friends, and yet not love myself. I can be loved by my family, my mate, my friends, and yet not love by myself. I can admire my associates and yet regard myself as worthless. I can project an image of assurance and poise that fools almost everyone, and yet secretly tremble with a sense of my inadequacy. I can fulfill the expectations of others and yet fail my own. I can win every honor and yet feel I have accomplished nothing. I do this daily, by the way. I'll tell you about it in a minute. I got just a tiny bit more. I can be adored by millions and yet wake up each morning with a sickening sense of fraudulence and emptiness. Any of those ring true for you at all? Not all of them. I said that I can win every honor and yet feel I have accomplished nothing. Well, I can end my day checking off every item of my to-do list and still feel like I have not done enough. That's a dip in my self-esteem. It is a lack in my self-esteem. And low self-esteem leads or can lead to addiction. It doesn't always, but it can lead to addiction. And it can lead to different types of addiction. I talk mostly about alcohol addiction. There's also sex addiction, which I don't talk too much about, but we do talk about it on the podcast. And speaking of which, I want to address that in a little bit. But there's gambling addiction. There's overeating. And by the way, I think my overeating, I'm certain my overeating is directly related to a self-esteem. So Dr. Hamid Reza Alavi, I don't know, sites since in a research study they did on, it was on the NCBI website, that several studies had shown. I was reading through the studies there, and they all say about the same thing. Those who are involved in addiction, theft, and prostitution have a lower self-esteem compared with the ordinary person. Then it goes on to say it is necessary to increase an individual's self esteem in order to decrease their tendency to addiction, theft, and prostitution. So this is essentially what he's saying, is that if we want to get better, there's one place we need to look at for getting better is our self esteem. Um, and if we are struggling with addiction, there's one place we probably should look at first in order to get better. I noticed that someone has joined me on probably Facebook, and I would love for you to say hi. If you're Marcus, thanks for coming back. I don't know if that's you or you had to go to work. Anyway, so people with low self esteem often don't feel like they fit in, and they feel unworthy, all tying into why we drink. Alcohol and drugs relieve them of the unwanted feelings. And I want to say that those unwanted feelings can be defined in two ways. Wanted, as in they don't feel wanted by other people. Low self esteem comes that way. And unwanted, as in they don't want to feel those bad feelings that they're feeling. So we drink. We drink to connect with other people, which in the end ends up not connecting, disconnecting. But we also drink to numb the feelings. It helps us fit in and numb at the same time. Now, there's another part of self esteem that I want to talk about. We're talking about low self esteem now, but what about high self esteem? Does high self esteem lead to possible problems with addiction? And pop in right now and say what you think about that. But I'm going to tell you that yes, it does, or it can in many cases. So people that think too highly of themselves or have high self-esteem, they're under this constant pressure of maintaining the impression that they have high self-esteem, of maintaining the impression that they are better than other people. So they need to always defend their self-worth, can never relax, never let it go. They have perfectionist problems, they have overachievement problems. And when something hits their self-esteem, it's a huge hit. It is a huge hit. I want to talk about a situation with a person I know, but I'm not gonna, because they may watch, and I don't want to do that here. But there's someone I know who has a very high self-esteem, and a couple of years ago was hit with something that really did damage. And I know it did damage because they have told me how it suddenly made them feel not good enough. They didn't do enough. And so that took a hit to their self-esteem. And drinking has become a problem since. So yes, people with high self-esteem have to protect that in order to not get the hit that leads to alcoholic behaviors. And actually, I guess maybe I could. There have been times in my life, yes, where my self esteem was very high, and then I took a hit and it just completely dumped. And it's devastating. So, yes, it doesn't have to be just about low self esteem, it could be high self esteem. So, here's what we really talk about: the healthy levels of self esteem, and what it really looks like. I'm going to take a drink because, yeah. Um, what is what does healthy self-esteem really look like? Um, so healthy self-esteem is a balance. It's not too much, it's not too little. It is the right amount with, I guess being humble at the same time, knowing that you're good enough. I love this, telling people you are worthy, you are enough. I don't just run out on the streets and do it. But when I'm talking to someone, I will often say, "You're worthy. You are enough." Um, it's knowing that I am okay the way I am. That I don't have to get better. I don't have to um, be worse. I am just okay the way I am. It's a balance between the low and the high, Many of us attempt to achieve it by living up to other people's expectations of ourselves and our own expectations and ideas based on material ownership. It is the idea that when my house is the biggest house on the block, I will be enough or I will be worthy. No, your house is just fine the way it is. You are worthy in the house you are in, no matter what it looks like. And you may not like it. You may want a better house, but you are still worthy. Your house doesn't define who you are. It is also the idea that because my house is the biggest on the block, I am enough. Now I have to maintain, I have to work harder to keep it. I was checking out, I got dinging here, so I'm checking out where the dinging is coming from. So, anyways, yeah, it's the idea that if you to be enough, healthy is maybe I don't have to maintain it. Maybe I'm fine the way I am. So I hear a lot of people make statements, about why they started drinking, and I'll ask them, and I've said this. Why did you start drinking? Well, I wanted to fit in. Why did you start drinking? Well, um, I didn't feel like I was part of my family. Those statements, while they may be true, there is also an underlying deep rooted reason behind the why. That why, that surface why, that easy why, that is just the easy answer. I wanted to fit in. It could make me dance. And I got some of these examples that I've heard people say, and one of them's mine actually. I could dance without feeling like other people were judging me. I got attention. That one's mine. I liked the attention I got when I drank because I was more outgoing and I was friendlier and I was more confident. It gave me that. Um, um, so let's go, by the way, let's go with the idea that I could dance is the example you give. So did you start drinking? I could dance. I got attention. Um, then we do this why activity. So why is that important? Why is the attention getting important? Because I didn't get the attention from home with my family. And what drinking ultimately did, because you weren't getting it at home, because you wanted it out in public, it gave you this sense of self-worth. But if you'd already had the sense of self-worth, then would you really have needed that attention? No. So the real reason I drank wasn't so I could dance. It was so I could build up my self-esteem enough to dance. It was because I was missing something um, that helped me feel whole. Yeah, I guess that's the word I want to use, is whole. Is, if we had this missing link. So numb the pain of feeling worthless. It's a big word because we don't like to address ourselves as feeling worthless, but we do. We do. And we drink because we feel worthless. And I can go out there and say, I wasn't part of the group, but the real deep down underlying message there is I felt worthless. I felt without self-esteem. There's always something behind, unless you've actually worked on this and you can walk up and say, I drank because I felt worthless, or I drank because I was missing some self-esteem. Unless you can come out and say that directly, there's probably something deeper under that. I drink because it made me feel good. Okay, well, there's something definitely under that statement there. Why did you need alcohol to feel good? And then you can go through and come to the core answer. And once you can get to that core answer, you can solve the problem. You may not be sober right away, but you can start working on the problem. If self-esteem is it, then maybe start. So, anyways, I'm tied, a little confused. So I'm going to move on. I skipped a bunch of stuff because I just went on a ramble there for myself. So, Dr. Brendan's research suggests that there are 6 pillars of self-esteem or self-worth, and those 6 pillars can be strengthened through ongoing examination. And sometimes, by the way, that examination can be done on your own, but sometimes we need to work with others to get that self-examination to get through the fluff and just the the noise that comes with being alive. Um, those tickles. We have with other people to get through that, and that's part of what I do now sober. Is I just ask questions and talk to you and try and work through some of the noise that so we can get to the deep seated problems. Hold on. Anyway, so the six pillars of self-worth or self-esteem that Dr. Brendan talks about. So I'm going to go ahead and talk to you those, tell you what those are. And those are, by the way, those are the if you have all six of them, then you are a representation of what self-esteem, healthy self-esteem really looks like. So that's what I'm trying to get to here. First one is living consciously, or living in the here and now without giving too much credence to the past and too much, worry to the future. It's living in the right here, right now, and paying attention to what exists in your present moment. And that's really the only thing that's important, because it's the only thing you can change. You can't change the past. You can't predict the future. You can change what is happening. You can make decisions here that affect your immediate moment. I could make decision to buy a house. I could pick the house, put the money down, buy the house. That is my decision. And 6 months, 60 days, I don't know, 60 days plan to move in that house, make that decision, but that house could burn down between now and that. So all I have is the decision I make right now. Anyways, people who are living consciously are able to feel and identify their emotions. They're able to differentiate between the hurt from the past and what is going on right now. Second pillar is self-acceptance. This is loving yourself unconditionally and allowing yourself self-forgiveness. If you have learned how to forgive yourself from mistakes of the past, then you have the second pillar, which is the self-acceptance. If you are newly in sobriety, I can almost guarantee you that you don't have that for self-forgiveness. I am told all the time, how do I forgive myself? Okay, I get that that's important. How do I let go of the mistakes I've made, and how do I forgive myself? And that's often where you need some help, but it takes time. So if you're new in sobriety, you're not going to have that pillar. Self-response. Love this one. And this is something I actually could do immediately after recovery. Not perfectly. I'm not going to say that. But when I made the decision to stop drinking, I made a decision of self-responsibility. That's it. So if you've made the decision to stop drinking because you want to live a better life, you have made a decision of self-responsibility. It's accepting responsibility for your position in life without placing blame on others for it or playing the victim to it. Self-responsibility means that you're willing to accept the things we cannot change, while being proactive about the things we can. I could not change the 10 years I spent drinking. Could not. I was willing to accept that I had done it. I had damaged a lot of my life. I damaged relationships. I damaged my self-esteem. I could not change that, but I could make a decision to stop drinking today. So I took, when I say I took self-responsibility the day I stopped drinking, it's because I did. And I don't necessarily think I did it perfectly. I don't even think I placed blame or played the victim. I just knew that the only way to get out of it was to do things myself to get out of it. All right. So the next one, which one is this? I think this. No, I think this is 4. Self-assertiveness. Self-assertiveness. This awareness of your values and boundaries and the willingness to express them to other people. It's understanding that it's okay to verbalize our wants and our needs without having guilt. Self-assertiveness, a lot of it is boundaries. It's before you can draw a line in the sand, you might want to know how to draw a line in the sand. Before you can tell someone that is, you are stepping into my boundaries, you are making me very uncomfortable. You have to know and before you can live in your values, which is different than boundaries, you have to know what those values are. And so awareness of discovering that. Again, when you first stop drinking, you probably won't have a good idea of what that means. I do know that, oh, it was probably, good Lord, I'm still working on boundaries. And it was probably a good year and a half, maybe 2 years into sobriety before I started identifying and really embracing my values. Because I had been acting in ways while I was drinking that that did not embrace my values, that completely demolished my values. You know, there's just I couldn't drink and pay attention to my values. I just couldn't. My value, for example, was to be a mom first, and I had two adult children, so I didn't have to be that mom first. But I also made decisions that, you know, even with adult children, I shouldn't have made, like going to an event that was my daughter's. It was very important to her, and I wanted to drink instead. So yeah, I didn't live within my values. To this day, I'm still identifying and addressing boundaries. Um, so I don't, I guess you could say that I'm not living in healthy self-esteem. No, I'm not. I'm doing my best, and I'm way better than I was a few years ago, but I still got some stuff to work on. And I'm my forever project. I've said this before, I'll say it again. I'm my forever project. I will continue to work on this always. As long as we are alive and living new experiences, we are going to have to face the fact that we are our forever project. So let's see. Self-assertiveness. We got two more. I'm going to go through them a little bit quicker because I don't know how long I've gone. 31 minutes. We've gone a half an hour. Living purposefully. This is setting goals and living a life with the intention to achieve them. This is my purpose. This is my purpose in life. And if you don't have a purpose, why is that? What does that play? How does that play in your self-esteem? Um, so Dr. Brendan suggests that living purposely, living with a purpose, is one of those pillars of a healthy self-esteem. It's not living in my purpose, not having a purpose. I don't know, it gave me a lot of room for my brain to imagine things that were not true. All right, last one is having personal integrity. This is acting within the boundaries of your values, beliefs. It's living authentically. I try to live authentically as I possibly can. You know, would it be better for me to portray someone who has fully developed my boundaries, who lives with healthy self-esteem? Would it be better for me to hide behind, the idea that I don't have that, it's not a problem? It might be better. It might look better to you if I appear to live without any of these flaws, with a great sense of self-esteem. And I think I have pretty good sense, but it would look better to you. But I would not be living authentically. I would know that I am um that I'm faking it, that I am lying to everyone, and that just goes against all of my values. And so I'd rather let you know that I have flaws like everyone else, and I embrace those flaws, and it's okay. And I want to come back to that quote I said earlier, if you were here earlier: to attain success without attaining positive self-esteem is to be condemned to feeling like an imposter, anxiously waiting exposure. If I lied to you about and said, my self-esteem's great, and my boundaries are perfect, and if I told you those things, I would not be living with personal integrity. I would not be living authentically. It would take a hit to my self-esteem. And I'd rather admit to some flaws and have better self-esteem. So, anyways, often the hardest is knowing how to build the self-esteem. We can look at these 6 traits. And there are parts of it, of the six traits, that we can work on. Um, making decisions to be proactive about your recovery, about taking responsibility. That's kind of easy to do. But knowing how to live consciously in the present doesn't teach you how to let go of the past. So I can live consciously in the present, but that doesn't, or I know that I need to live consciously in the present, but that doesn't mean I know how to get rid of the past. I know that I need to forgive myself in order to have healthy self esteem, but that doesn't make it easy for me to do so. And your recovery is dependent on leaping over these self esteem hurdles. How do you forgive yourself? How do you live authentically when you don't know what your authentic is? Um, one way one way to do that is to reach out to a coach, to reach out to a recovery group, um, to seek a therapist, and to get that outside person to help you to see yourself in a different way. Years ago, when I first went into recovery, someone said, and they said it a lot, and it drove me nuts. So this has really stuck with me. They said, "Self can't see self." And I thought, wow, no, no, self can see self. And they attribute it to, like, if you walk in a house and you look at the carpet and there's the dirty spot in front of the couch where people have treaded the way, and treaded and treaded and treaded. And you can vacuum it and it doesn't look dirty. It doesn't look dirty, except, and you can't see that it looks dirty because it just, you see it every day. It doesn't look dirty except for when you push the couch out of the way. By pushing the couch out of the way, you're allowing yourself to see that thing that looks normal every day. Can you shift things in your life? Can you take that closer look at things to see, to see yourself? Can you look at these six pillars in your life and identify ways in which you are not practicing healthy self-esteem? And if you aren't, can you start doing something about that? And I would suggest that you can, but I would also suggest that sometimes the furniture is just too damn hard to move it on your own. I have you can't see my desk, but my desk is big. It's not my desk, it's the desk. It's big and I can't move it on my own. And I'm gonna need help one day if I have to move it. And that's when I will ask a person to do so for me. That idea of learning to forgive yourself in order to obtain your increase your self-esteem, to get into healthy self-esteem, that might be a bigger piece of furniture that you need help with. So be willing to do that to get help. Anyways, I am now rambling officially. And wait a minute, am I? Maybe not yet. I'm gonna for a second because there's things that I want to ask. One is, if you have something that you do that increases your self-esteem, I'd love for you to put it in the comments. Let us know so that maybe we can start practicing that. I would love to try new things. I'm always open to trying new things. In fact, just prior to well, actually last night, oh, there's a good one. I did a meditation. It's called Hopo, oh no, Ho Ho Ho'oponopono. Ho'oponopono. I think I'm saying it right. Anyways, it's a meditation, and it's not one that I had done before, but I absolutely loved it. And it is a forgiveness meditation. How about that? It is, you just repeat and you say and you identify things that you can forgive yourself on. And I heard it so many times last night. It's driving me nuts that it's drawing a blank. But here's something you can try to increase your self-esteem. That's the Ho'oponopono meditation. Maybe I need to type it in the in the comments. And it is a 4-phrase meditation. It is, I'm not going to say them in the right order. I forgive you. I'm sorry. I thank you. I forgive you. I'm sorry. I thank you. I love you. I think that's it. I think that's it. And you say that to myself. I said it to myself last night. I forgive you. I'm sorry. I thank you. And I love you. Over and over again. And it helps. It helps. It actually pulled out some pain that I needed to address to help me feel better about it. But okay. So, anyways, there you go. I don't even know where I was coming. I told you I was going to start rambling, and I've officially started. This I don't remember what the first thing I wanted to tell you is, but the second thing I wanted to tell you is if you watch the podcast, Back Porch Chats, that is our podcast. It's where we have conversations of grace, hope, and recovery, and we are making some big changes to that. We've already made some, but there's some stuff that's going to have to still be tied down. We have changed that name, the name of that podcast. We've changed the branding of that podcast to fit under the Now Sober umbrella. So it is Now Sober. Back Porch Chats is now sober. Is now sober. So watch out for that. If you're looking for Back Porch Chats, type in Now Sober podcast and you should be able to find it. So anyways, there's that. We have a website for Back Porch Chats. It's still available, but we're going to absorb it under the Now Sober website. And the last thing I want to tell you is I am still working to get to 100 subscribers on my YouTube channel. Once I get to 100 subscribers on my YouTube channel, I can change my YouTube channel name from letter, number, to a name that most represents what we do, and that you can find easier by typing in our name. So anyways, that is my goal, is to get to 100. If you could run on over to YouTube, or if you're watching YouTube, hit that subscribe button and become a subscriber, so that you are part of our new name. I don't know. Anyways, I think that is about it. It's 2:42 my time. 45 minutes I've been jabbering on. And so I'm going to go ahead and say goodbye. Next week's episode, where did I put next week? So I can tell you next week I am going to be talking about why you should avoid relationships in early sobriety. I did not do this and I regretted it. So I don't know. Honestly, if you do, I mean, it's up to you, but I'm not gonna. So we're gonna talk about that question is asked all the time. So I will talk about next week why you should avoid relationships in early sobriety. And honestly, if you're thinking about it, even just sex, come back and listen to next week's episode. Get some details and get some facts. And I'm gonna research it. I research sometimes to a point where I flub up because I got too much information in my head, but I will give you some good researched information. I will also give you my opinion. And once you have everything in place, my opinion, by the way, is not going to matter. The research is, but once you have everything in place, you can make a decision. So join us next week at 2:00 on wherever you're watching. I'm on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. I might be changing a couple of those next week because the stream that I use is changing. Anyways, come back to watch the episode on why you should avoid relationships in early sobriety. I gotta go. All right. So I hope you had a good laugh and learned something new. You are worthy. You are just the way you are. Bye.